Chapter 031. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Heading to Dingin City, another shot, after picking up the tools he needed to assess potential disciples at the task hall, Chuan headed to Dingin City on his own, or so it seemed. Even though he appeared to be alone, Chuan knew a protector was watching his back, ensuring his safety. This was a perk for every true disciple. Each true disciple was a treasure to the Holy Land. The Holy Land couldn't afford to lose one, so every true disciple sent out on a mission had a guardian protecting him in secret, but guardians couldn't solve every problem. They only intervened in life or death situations. Otherwise, you were on your own. After all, the Holy Land didn't want to raise a leech who couldn't fend for himself. They'd rather he die in the field. But Chuan wasn't too worried. Between the amulets and elixirs his master had given him and his chi cultivation, he could at least make a run for it. If he ran into someone who could withstand a full blow from his master, then a guardian wouldn't make a difference anyway. About Dingin City, it was way out there, millions of miles from the Holy Land. If Chuan had to travel there on his own, it would take at least a month. Luckily, teleportation formations were set up in every city across the eastern region. All you had to do was pay some yuan stones to use them. This saved Chuan a ton of time. After 5 days and multiple stops in different cities, Chuan finally arrived in Dingin City. He had to admit, Dingin City was in the boonies. Any further, and you'd be out of the eastern region. This was the farthest Chuan had ever traveled. If it weren't for the skills he desperately needed, he probably would have never set foot here. Dingin City Outpost. This place acted as a base of operations for the Tai Holy Land. The construction was impressive, making it clear this wasn't an ordinary place. Everyone was gathered quietly, waiting. Except for the kids, they kept looking out into the distance, eyes filled with nervousness and anticipation. News had arrived 5 days ago that a disciple would be arriving to test their children's aptitude. This was an opportunity that only came around once every 5 years, so people brought their kids early and waited. This was about whether their children could enter the Holy Land, so they took it seriously. Plus, they heard it was a new true disciple who was coming, which meant being extra careful. Usually, it was just inner disciples who came to test them. Never had a true disciple done it. Some of the people here might never even see a true disciple in their lifetime. True disciples were high status and elusive, not like them, so they were incredibly careful about Chuan's visit. They didn't want to screw things up. As if on cue, Chuan appeared. "Welcome, Chuan. We greet you, Chuan." As soon as he stepped through the gate, everyone greeted him respectfully. "No need for formalities, just do what you have to do," Chuan said with a wave of his hand. He'd gotten used to his new position. Seemingly encouraged by Chuan's friendly demeanor, the kids looked up, trying to get a good look at him. Chuan smiled back. Then, the outpost manager came forward and led Chuan into the main hall. "Chuan's arrival truly brings honor to our outpost. I've asked people to prepare a banquet with food and drinks to celebrate your arrival," the manager said excitedly. "Manager Li, no need." Chuan knew the setup here by now. The portly, middle-aged guy in front of him was Li Gang, the outpost manager of Dingin City. He was probably at the 8th level of the mortal realm. He was a distant relative of elderly Hong. That's how he got this cushy job despite his low cultivation. The manager position was better than the deacons who had no shot at promotions. With this job, the yuan stone income was substantial. You could tell just by looking at him. Of course, this was common in the Holy Land. "I'm here to test the children. As for the banquet, I prefer peace and quiet, so I'll pass. Just need Manager Li to find me a quiet place to stay." Chuan shook his head. He had important things to do and couldn't waste time. The opportunity was about to arrive. He needed to find the kids selling the skills quickly. Otherwise, someone else would get there first. "Of course, we can test the kids after you've settled in," Li Gang said. "There's no rush. They're lucky to be assessed by you personally." Li Gang wouldn't push it. Chuan had made himself clear. He didn't want to annoy him. "I've prepared a residence for you here in Dingin City. It's quiet but in the middle of everything. It fits your requirements perfectly." With that, he led Chuan to his accommodations. "This way, please," the servant said. "Thank you," Chuan replied, following him. Soon, Chuan arrived at the house Li Gang had arranged. It was in a busy area, right next to a market with people coming and going, but the courtyard was pristine. There were rock gardens, streams, and exotic plants everywhere. Sitting in the courtyard's pavilion, you could see everything happening in the market outside. The courtyard was protected by a formation. Quiet but bustling, just as Su Chuan wanted. Li Gang had gone all out to please him. Su Chuan was satisfied. "Go back and tell Manager Li that I'm very happy with this place," Su Chuan said. "Yes. If you need anything else, let me know." The servant bowed respectfully, then turned to leave. Su Chuan nodded. As soon as he left, Su Chuan was the only one in the huge courtyard, which now seemed even quieter. Su Chuan walked around to familiarize himself with the place. Chapter 032. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Visiting the market and teaching some thugs a lesson. The kid the seller had been teaching turned up a few days ago, but Su Chuan was clueless as to where he was. Anding City wasn't just a city, it was huge. Millions lived there. Finding one kid among so many people was like finding a needle in a haystack. After thinking it over, Su Chuan decided to check out the most crowded place in the city. Maybe he'd get lucky and bump into him. The most crowded place was definitely Wuxiafang Market. It's where everyone in the city traded daily, so it had a massive flow of people. If the kid was selling something, he'd definitely go to that market. Anding City had 4 markets, east, west, north, and south. Su Chuan's place was near the west market. Having decided, Su Chuan headed out to check out the 4 markets. Stepping into the west market was like entering another world. It was packed, noisy, with people shouting and haggling. Honestly, it was Su Chuan's first time in a market like this, so it felt a little weird. When he was just an outer sect disciple, he was broke. Aside from cultivation, he didn't have extra spirit stones to spend. Even the few he had were snatched by those with higher cultivation levels. After 8 years, he'd managed to save 50 low-grade spirit stones. You probably couldn't even afford the cheapest stuff here. Su Chuan browsed the stalls. "Just looking, huh? Then move along," the stall owner said, face sour. If Su Chuan wasn't wearing fancy clothes, the stall owner would have told him to get lost. Seeing the owner's displeasure, Su Chuan stopped browsing. The stuff on these stalls was all junk, useless to him. He was only looking out of curiosity, and he was a little confused. Other time travelers always found treasures at the market, so why was everything here trash? Su Chuan was disappointed. After wandering around, Su Chuan lost interest because he didn't see any kids selling manuals. Shaking his head, he decided to check out the south market. Finding the kid that easily would be insane. Just as he left the west market gate, Su Chuan ran into the kid from the station. The kid recognized Su Chuan and shouted, "Su Zhenjuan." Su Zhenjuan, not Su Chuan thought, Sure enough, hearing the kid's voice, people stopped what they were doing and looked around. Su Chuan's heart sank, and he quickly shushed the kid. Too many eyes were around, and he didn't want to reveal his identity and cause more trouble. The kid understood immediately, covered his mouth, and nodded. After checking around, he sighed in relief that no one noticed him. Then, he quickly left and motioned for the kid to follow. At a quiet spot, Su Chuan asked, "What's your name?" "Su Zhenjuan, Su Zhenjuan. My name is Li Hu, and my dad's name is Li Gang." "You met him before, this kid looks legit. But is this a lie?" Looking at the kid's sturdy appearance, Su Chuan couldn't help but worry for Manager Li. "Don't call me Su Zhenjuan, call me Senior Brother Su," Su Chuan said gently. Senior Brother Su, what are you doing here?" Li Hu asked innocently, skipping ahead. "I'm checking out the markets." "You familiar with them?" Su Chuan asked, not hiding anything from a kid. "Yeah. I play in these 4 markets all the time." "I'll take you, Senior Brother Su," Li Hu said happily. "Okay," Su Chuan nodded. He was new to the place and needed someone familiar with Anding City to show him around, so, with Li Hu leading, they headed toward the south market. As soon as they entered, they heard a commotion. "Give me back the manual. You haven't paid me yet." "What manual?" "It's just a junk book." "I'll give it back, and here's a spirit stone." "Get lost," a kid's voice mixed with a rude man's voice. Hearing manual, Su Chuan's ears perked up, and he became interested. pulling Li Hu, he squeezed through the crowd to a stall. A ragged kid was grabbing a young man's leg, refusing to let go. "Stop being so shameless and let go, or you'll regret it." Surrounded by people, the young man was losing face and getting annoyed, so he prepared to hit the kid. He clenched his fist, ready to strike. The young man was at the 9th level of body tempering, but the kid was just a regular person. That punch would kill the kid. The crowd looked on with pity, but no one helped. Chuan watched coldly. Just as the fist was about to hit the kid, he acted. With a wave of his hand, the man flew several yards. He landed hard, coughing up blood. "What did you take from him?" "Hand it over," Chuan said coldly. This might be related to his martial arts, and he couldn't let any manual from that stall get out. Seeing this, the young man, instead of handing it over, threatened Chuan, "You're dead. You hit me, you won't leave Anding City alive." Chuan chuckled. "Whose kid is this? He's clueless." He unleashed his aura at the 9th level of Naki, overwhelming everyone. Li Hu jumped out, hands on his hips. He said arrogantly, "You blind? This is senior brother Su, a true disciple of Tai Holy Land." That he looked like a thug who'd made it big. Chuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This kid was a riot. Hearing this, the young man turned pale, realizing he'd messed with the wrong person. He knelt and kowtowed to Chuan. "I didn't know it was you. Please spare me." Chuan looked at the young man in disgust and said, "Give back what you took, leave all your spirit stones, and get out." "Thank you, sir, thank you, sir." The young man, as if pardoned, quickly handed over the manual and all his spirit stones, then fled. Only then did Chuan retract his aura and wave to disperse the crowd. Picking up the spirit stones and the manual, Chuan checked it out. It was just a low-grade yellow-level martial arts manual, Black Tiger Strength, which disappointed him. With the manual in hand, Chuan went to the kid's stall. Now, he could finally get a good look at the kid. Chapter 033. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The kid was covered head to toe in mud, a real mess. You could tell he'd been through it. His little stall had maybe a dozen books scattered on it, with a sign scrawled in charcoal that read, "Selling family secrets to buy dad a decent burial." Behind the stall, a middle-aged man was wrapped in a straw mat. Chuan could tell at a glance the man was long gone. Seeing the scene, Chuan felt a wave of relief. He knew right away this was the kid he'd been looking for. Name, Wang Luan. Level, mortal. Talent, crowd pleaser. Fate, lone wolf. Red, born sword. Purple. Life story, sidekick, tagging along on the hero's journey. Backstory. Grew up in Linen County with his dad. His dad stumbled upon a spirit crystal, but word got out, and the Chen family came sniffing around. They beat his father to death and stole the crystal. He had to haul his dad's body all the way to Ding'an City. Now broke, he's selling off family secrets to pay for the funeral. Eventually, his talent shines through, and he hooks up with Su Chen, the chosen one, becoming his right-hand man. Chuan's eyebrows shot up when he saw the intel from the system. As Chuan got stronger, the system was giving up more and more life details. What really blew him away was Wang Luan's potential. Lone wolf, the death of someone close will trigger his god-tier talent, doubling his training speed. Only someone with crazy good luck can tame him. Born sword, literally born for the sword, a natural-born swordsman, his grasp of the blade is off the charts. A red fate, a purple fate, plus that crowd-pleaser talent. This kid was way above average. Even in Tai Holy Land, he'd be a top pick. Plus, Chuan spotted another opportunity here. A spirit crystal. Now that was a rare find. Perfect for forging weapons or boosting cultivation. Drop it in a forge, and you'd get top-quality weapons with major power. Or just use it to cast weapons from scratch. If you wanted anything earth level or higher, spirit crystals were a must. Use it for training, and it was like hitting the reset button on your body, giving you a major upgrade. Plus, spirit crystals were packed with crazy amounts of natural energy. One crystal was worth tens of thousands of top-grade yuan stones. That's how precious they were. Even the Holy Land's reserves were limited, and finding one in the wild was next to impossible. Chuan couldn't believe he'd stumbled onto a lead. and with those heaven-level skills so close, it was like hitting the jackpot twice. Chuan was buzzing with excitement, but he kept his cool, not wanting anyone to catch on. He handed the kid back the secret book he'd lost. Then, acting casual, Chuan browsed the stall and asked, "How many of these have you sold today?" Wang Luan, relieved to have his book back, thanked Chuan over and over. Hearing Chuan's question, he replied, "0. These skills are too weak." His voice trailed off, barely audible. Chuan didn't say anything. He'd already seen that the best books on the stall were only low-grade yellow. Some were even just basic martial arts stuff that nobody wanted. "Tell you what, I'll buy everything on the stall. 500 low-grade yuan stones sound fair," Chuan said. Wang Luan was stunned, waving his hands. "No way, these aren't worth that much. You just helped me, I can't take your money. If you want any of these, just take them. Call it my way of saying thanks." Chuan nodded. The kid was down on his luck, but he clearly had a good heart. Add that to his talent, and he was Holy Land material. What happened next was up to him. "I'm not hurting for yuan stones. It's a deal. 500 for the whole stall." Without waiting for Wang Luan to argue, Chuan pulled out a storage pouch and shoved it into his hands. Storage rings were rare, but pouches were pretty common. Chuan had picked up plenty from the folks who'd underestimated him lately. This pouch had exactly 500 yuan stones. Wang Luan was speechless. He just stood there as Chuan packed all the books into a storage ring. It took him a second to snap out of it. No, I can't," he stammered. Chuan frowned, feigning annoyance. "You're insulting me if you don't take it." Wang Luan, startled, finally accepted the stones. Some of the onlookers perked up, planning to snatch the yuan stones as soon as Chuan left. "Chuan wasn't born yesterday," he boomed. "This kid's under my protection, Chuan's. Anyone who messes with him messes with me, and with Tai Holy Land. I think you all know the score, so think twice before you try anything. Make sure you can handle the consequences." Chuan shot a look at the would-be thieves. They backed down, quick. If anyone was crazy enough to try it, Chuan would happily send them on a one-way trip. Wang Luan was so touched, he almost cried. He was just a kid, after all that he'd been through. Someone was finally helping him. He couldn't hold it in anymore. He dropped to his knees and kowtowed 3 times. "Thank you, sir, thank you. I'll never forget your kindness." "All right, now go bury your father in peace." Chuan helped Wang Luan up. "After the funeral, head to the Tai Holy Land outpost, tell them my name, and you can join the Holy Land with the other kids in a few days." Chuan didn't want to see the kid living on the streets. He'd gotten what he needed from Wang Luan, after all. Plus, the kid had promise, and Chuan had a soft spot for talent. Bringing him into the Holy Land would pay off big time. Chuan's sights were set on becoming the Holy Lord, so every move had to count. With Wang Luan's potential, the peak masters would be tripping over themselves to recruit him. As for that lone wolf fate, no sweat. Tai Holy Land was crawling with lucky people. Every elder there had been blessed. You couldn't get to the reincarnation realm, or become an elder in the top Holy Land in the eastern region, without some serious luck, not to mention the 9 peaks peak masters. After watching Wang Luan trudge off with his father's body, Chuan left with Li Hu. His next move was to find the complete heaven-level skills hidden in those dozen-odd books, Xianyang. His current training was already maxed out. As soon as he had the follow-up skills, Chuan could jump straight to the transformation realm. Then, with mortal transformation realm cultivation, he'd be ready to snag that spirit crystal. Chapter 034. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Returning to his place, Chuan wasted no time activating the formation around his residence and dove into the practice room. He was itching to get his hands on the Xianyang. He dumped out all the secret books from his storage ring and started going through them one by one. Mostly, they were just your run-of-the-mill martial arts techniques, a Huang rank palm technique, a boxing style, and a cultivation method. The rest were basically just basic exercises, not even worth calling martial arts. After flipping through 13 books without finding squat, let alone a hint of those heaven-level skills, he was getting frustrated. All that was left was a tattered, moth-eaten book that looked like it belonged in the trash. Chuan doubted the Xianyang Ju could be hidden inside, but desperate times, desperate measures. He opened the book, Xiantian Chronicles, and started reading. Nothing. He flipped through it again, just to be sure. Still nothing. He read it several more times. Nada. Seriously? Is my luck just that bad? He wondered, but he shook it off and tried to stay positive. The system gave me the intel, so it's gotta be here. I just haven't figured out the trick yet. Then it hit him. He remembered those novels where the protagonist burns books and finds hidden skills. Fortune favors the bold, right? Let's do this, thought his heart pounded as he steeled himself. He had to try something. If it didn't work, he'd just have to write it off as bad luck and head back to the Holy Land to find another way. He summoned a flame and started tossing books into it one by one. As the books went up in flames, Chuan began to feel nervous. Truth be told, he didn't want to switch to another technique. Finding the Xianyang Ju was his best bet. But if he couldn't find it, he couldn't just keep spinning his wheels in the Naki realm. The Holy Land didn't tolerate dead weight. If he couldn't advance to the mortal transformation realm, he'd be kicked out as a true disciple. Soon, the flames were licking at the Xiantian Chronicles. Chuan's heart leaped into his throat, then, bam. Jackpot. The moment the book touched the flame, a blinding light flooded the room. Golden light erupted from the book and shot straight toward the top of Chuan's head, slamming into his mind at lightning speed. Pain exploded in his skull, and Chuan screamed. The protector, lurking in the shadows, saw the commotion and panicked. If anything happened to Chuan, he'd be toast. Chuan's master was notorious for his temper back at the Holy Land, but before the protector could move, Chuan waved him off, signaling him to stay put. The protector hesitated, then retreated back into the shadows, eyes glued to Chuan, ready to jump in at the first sign of trouble. Meanwhile, Chuan was battling the agony in his mind. The golden light had dumped the complete Xianyang Ju directly into his brain. The sheer volume of information overloaded his mind, and a tidal wave of data crashed over his consciousness. It was excruciating. Chuan vowed never to go through anything like that again. Finally, he got used to the pain and started processing the Xianyang Ju. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and began practicing the Great Zhoutian movement, following the complete exercise route of the Xianyang Ju. Immediately, he felt the difference. The old, incomplete method was powerful, but it always felt like something was blocking him. Now, with the complete version, that block vanished, replaced by a feeling of total flow. In less than half a day, Chuan had mastered the complete Xianyang Ju. This was partly thanks to the similar origins of the two skills and the fact that Chuan's abilities were now on a whole different level. He took to the new method like a fish to water. The protector breathed a sigh of relief, seeing that Chuan was okay. Chuan clenched his fists, reveling in the newfound power coursing through him. The complete Xianyang Ju cultivated a purer, stronger Yuan-Li. His body was getting stronger with every repetition. The constitution of the Great Sun was evolving into the body of the Great Sun. He knew that when he perfected this technique, he'd have an insanely powerful body. He basked in the feeling for a moment, then got back to work. He needed to purify the Yuan-Li he'd cultivated with the old method. The process was long, taking 3 days, but finally, Chuan had purged all the impurities from his Yuan power. Inside him, the Xianyang Ju de Zhoutian was spinning faster and faster. Boom. A roar ripped through the air as a wave of solar energy exploded outward. Chuan knew what was happening. He was about to break through to the mortal realm. He squeezed his eyes shut, focusing all his attention. The training room hummed with power as torrents of vitality poured into Chuan. He sucked it all in, like a whale gulping down krill. The Xianyang Ju filtered out the impurities, transforming the raw energy into pure solar power that fused with his body. Then, everything clicked. Chuan had done it, transformation into the mortal realm, complete. The difference was night and day. He'd shed his mortal shell and achieved the true body of martial arts. He could feel the vitality inside him constantly refining every part of his being. I've finally transcended the ordinary. Chuan marveled. Just 2 months ago, he was struggling at the 6th level of the body-tempering realm. Now, he was a true disciple and a master of the mortal transformation realm. The system had changed everything. You have successfully intercepted the opportunities for the rise of the Son of Luck 3 times, dealing a fate-altering blow. You have earned the achievement, Protagonist Opportunity Predator, and a copy of Emperor Senior Realm Sword Dao Insights. Do you wish to receive it? As Chuan gathered his energy, ready to leave the training room, a line of text popped up in front of him. Wait, I get an achievement for this? He was stunned, then broke into a grin. Hell yeah, give it to me. This was the enlightenment of the sword at the Emperor Senior level. Last time at Jinyang Peak, the faint sword intent left on the stone wall had helped him grasp the intent of the killing sword. This time, it was the real deal. The possibilities were endless. Chapter 035. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Enlightenment of the Emperor's Realm Swordsmanship and the Seed of Sword Soul, Emperor Realm Sword Path Enlightenment rewards have been distributed. A new message popped up, then, that tingling sensation hit him again. He'd sworn off a repeat, but it was back before he knew it. Still, it felt amazing. Luckily, his tolerance had improved significantly. He adjusted to it pretty quickly. Suddenly, Chuan was flooded with knowledge and insights about swordsmanship. Problems he'd been having with the slaying sword technique instantly clicked, and his mastery of the technique leveled up. Plus, there were subtle changes he'd need time to fully explore. All he wanted to do was grab his blade and start swinging. Kill. 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 The murderous intent practically radiated off him. The guardian in the shadows was stunned. Is this what a true disciple looks like? Comprehending the essence of swordsmanship at his stage? Unbelievable. It was incredibly rare for someone to grasp the true meaning of martial arts this early on. They were practically unicorns. These people were destined for greatness, hence his shock. But what he didn't know was that Chuan had already tapped into his own killing intent back in the Naki realm. Chuan kept swinging, totally lost in the zone. In a flash, thunder rumbled in the void and exploded in the training room. Chuan understood his true intention instantly. His murderous sword intent grew stronger, more focused. The speed of his swings intensified, creating sonic booms in the air. Crack! A sound echoed, like something shattering. Chuan felt his killing intent become sharper than ever before. A wave of pure joy bloomed in his heart and spread throughout his soul. King *. The sound of a sword, shaking his very core. The killing knife intention, which had been floating in his mind, began to merge with his soul, transforming into a seed that settled in the center. The seed of martial soul was ready. Even though it still looked like a seed, it meant Chuan's true intention of the sword had turned into his sword soul. As long as Chuan nurtured this seed, one day, it would blossom into a full-fledged martial soul. With this seed, Chuan had basically secured his ticket to the reincarnation realm. If he kept at it, he was guaranteed to become a powerhouse. This was something Chuan hadn't even dreamed of. Nurturing martial soul seeds was the lifelong goal of countless martial artists. Ha ha ha. I knew mastering the Emperor's level would let me condense the seed of my sword soul. I did it. Chuan roared with laughter, releasing the pure joy that surged through him. After he calmed down, Chuan focused his mind and began to carefully nurture his newly formed sword soul seed. The protector in the shadows could barely believe his eyes. What was this kid? Not only had he grasped the essence of the sword at such a young age, but he'd also directly condensed a sword soul seed. Even Chuan's master, Lin of Jinyang Peak, a prodigy renowned for his own sword skills, had only achieved this at a higher level of power. Compared to Chuan, that was nothing. All he wanted to do now was send word back to the Holy Land, fast, but a simple message wasn't safe. If it was intercepted by enemies, Chuan would be a goner. After a moment of thought, the Guardian remotely placed several protections on Chuan, enough to deter anyone below the reincarnation realm from harming him. And if someone stronger than that came along, well, there wasn't much he could do about it anyway. With that settled, the Guardian headed back to the Holy Land with a lighter heart. Chuan noticed him leaving, but he didn't give it much thought. At his current level, he was basically untouchable. At least, that's how it was in Dingyan City. The next morning, after a night of cultivation, the sword soul seed had fully taken root in Chuan's mind. His strength had multiplied. Feeling the surge of power from the sword soul seed, Chuan smiled. Time to check his stats. Name, Chuan. Realm, mortal realm first level. Talent, invincible king. Fate, change your destiny against the will of heaven. Gold, sword soul seed. Red. Life script, you have changed your destiny against the will of the heavens. It is difficult to see the future clearly. Life trajectory, you have changed your destiny against the will of heaven, and the past and future cannot be checked. Okay, I've got the technique. I've broken through to the mortal realm, and I've accidentally condensed a sword soul seed. Next up, the Chuan family's spiritual crystal. Perfect timing, actually. The Versio sword has been looking a little dull recently. Being tempered by the spiritual crystal should give it a nice kick. Before I leave, though, I gotta finish what I came here to do. With that thought, Chuan left the training room. He headed over to the station. He found Manager soaking up the sun. Manager, get the kids together. I'm gonna test their aptitude. Since this happened, I'll be on my way after. Manager was startled and scrambled to his feet. Yes, sir. Right away. He hadn't expected Chuan to emerge from his seclusion now of all times, but Chuan had given him an order, and he had to obey. He quickly sent his servants to gather the children. 15 minutes later, all the children in the station were assembled in the square. Chuan nodded, satisfied. Manager might be a bit of a butterball, but he got the job done. He spotted Li Hu, the kid with the tiger's head, and Wang Luan. Looks like the kid had taken his advice and was ready to join the Holy Land. Not that Chuan was surprised. The Holy Land was the top sect in the eastern region. Most people would kill for a chance to get in. Manager, let's get started. Chuan pulled out the aptitude testing tool, a crystal clear and pure as glass. Come up one by one and put your hands on it. If you have any martial arts aptitude, it'll glow. The brighter the light, the better your aptitude, and vice versa. Got it? Chuan told the children. Yes, sir, they replied, their voices high and excited. Okay, you're up first. He stepped aside and watched as the children eagerly lined up to test their skills. The process was quick, just a few seconds per kid. The ones who triggered a glow were overjoyed, the others looked crushed. Tough luck. That's just how this world works. As descendants of the Holy Land's outer deacons, any sign of martial arts talent would get them into the Holy Land as outer disciples, but only a few were cut out for it. Chuan felt bad, but there was nothing he could do. It was up to fate. Maybe their parents could find a treasure that would change their fate and give them the chance to walk the path of martial arts. To Chuan's surprise, the kid with the most potential after Wang Luan was little Li Hu. Chapter 036. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Headed to Linan County for intel, after evaluating the kids, Chuan decided to move on. Those who qualified would be escorted to the Holy Land by designated personnel. None of his concern. Manager tried his hardest to convince Chuan to stick around a few more days, but Chuan's mind was solely on that spiritual crystal. He didn't want to waste any time. He declined, and a helpless Manager saw him off. He wasn't about to stop a true disciple. Before Chuan left, Manager gave him the property where he'd been staying, promising to roll out the red carpet whenever he returned. With everyone watching, Chuan stepped into the teleportation formation bound for Linan County. This Linan County was a different beast compared to Dingyan City. Linan County was part of the Wei dynasty, the only human dynasty in the entire eastern region. It had stood strong in the eastern region for tens of thousands of years, controlling millions of miles of territory, divided into 36 counties, and boasting a population of over 10 billion. The Wei dynasty had to have some serious power to survive in the eastern region, surrounded by holy lands of various sections. Every emperor of the Wei dynasty practiced a technique known as the 9 transformations of the Emperor Sutra. Blessed by human luck, their practice advanced rapidly, and each generation of emperors reached the Heavenly King cultivation level. However, this insane technique had a major drawback. While practitioners advanced quickly, their lifespans were shortened. Every emperor who practiced this technique died before reaching 1,000 years old, compared to the tens of thousands of years a normal Heavenly King realm cultivator could live. 1,000 years was far too short, otherwise, the Wei dynasty would have unified the eastern region a long time ago. It was a double-edged sword. Even so, the Wei dynasty remained one of the strongest forces in the eastern region. Lin County, Su Chuan's destination, was one of the 36 counties of the Wei dynasty. It was just a bit remote, located on the edge of the dynasty's territory. 2 days later, Su Chuan arrived in Lin County. The moment he entered the city, he attracted a lot of attention. Su Chuan was strikingly handsome. After this period of cultivation, he constantly radiated a feeling of intense power. Dressed in fine clothes and jade robes, he was noble without being ostentatious. He turned heads everywhere he went. Anyone with a brain could tell this young man was someone extraordinary, so no one dared bother him. So this is a human city ruled by a dynasty? It's definitely thriving. Su Chuan couldn't help but marvel, strolling down the street, taking in the bustling scene. Most people in this city were ordinary citizens, with only a few martial artists mixed in, but everyone had a smile on their face and lived together peacefully, unlike the giant cities Su Chuan had visited before, which were filled with martial arts cultivators, making them hard to manage. Fights broke out constantly. The living space of ordinary people was squeezed down to almost nothing. The Wei dynasty really has something going for it, that the world was mostly populated by ordinary people, and only a few could embark on the path of martial arts. Even fewer could become strong. To judge how well a place was governed, you had to look at how well ordinary people lived there, and this Lin County, at least on the surface, gave Su Chuan a pretty good impression, ignoring any shady dealings. Su Chuan spent the whole morning wandering around the city, trying to dig up information about the Qin family. Unfortunately, all he found were rumors, nothing useful. Su Chuan was a little disappointed. Seeing that it was getting late, he decided to find an inn for the night and try again tomorrow. Just then, a skinny young man with a sharp mouth and beady eyes sidled up to Su Chuan and whispered, "You want to know something about the Qin family?" "What do you know?" Su Chuan's eyes lit up. Just when he was worried about getting no news on the Qin family, someone unexpectedly came knocking. This guy looked like a local thug. Those types usually knew the most. "Hey, I know a lot about the Qin family, but I'm not sure you can pay the price." The ruffian grinned, rubbing his fingers in his pocket. Su Chuan understood, he wanted to get paid for information. After thinking for a moment, he pulled out 20 low-grade yuan stones from his storage ring and handed them over. Waiting for the guy to talk, the ruffian took the yuan stone, but his eyes were glued to Su Chuan's storage ring, a greedy look on his face. "It's hard to talk with so many people around. The Qin family is a big deal in Lin County, you know. I don't dare talk about them here. It could cause trouble. Come with me to a quieter spot, and I'll give you all the details." "Okay." Su Chuan hadn't realized he was being set up. He was annoyed, but didn't show it. Instead, he followed, curious to see what the guy was up to and find a secluded place to teach him a lesson. He'd learned that Su Chuan's yuan stone wasn't that easy to get. Su Chuan followed the ruffian closely, twisting and turning through a bunch of alleys, until they reached a huge courtyard. "We're here. Let's talk inside." As soon as they entered the yard, the ruffian locked the door. "Tell me, what news do you have on the Qin family?" Seeing this, Su Chuan asked calmly, as if he hadn't noticed anything suspicious. "Talk. Talk is cheap, boys. We got a live one." Inside the yard, the ruffian ditched his submissive act and shouted cockily. As his voice died down, dozens of figures appeared in the yard. They were all dressed like thugs. From a room, a strong, bald man walked out slowly, carrying a big knife. Seeing the guy, the ruffian ran up to him excitedly and said, "Boss, this kid's got a storage ring and just pulled out 20 yuan stones like it's nothing. A real fat sheep. We're gonna make bank after this." "Really? Skinny monkey, you did good. When we get back, I'll freaking kill you." Pushing through the crowd, the bald boss hadn't finished his praise when he saw Su Chuan. He started shaking like a leaf. He recognized Su Chuan. More specifically, he recognized Su Chuan's clothes. As to why he knew this outfit, that was something he never wanted to remember again. When he was still a mountain bandit, he had seen a young man wearing clothes like that. That man single-handedly slaughtered hundreds of people in his village with just a sword. That night, blood flowed like a river. he had only survived because he was too lazy and found a cave to sleep in instead of patrolling. Later, he heard someone say that the man was a true disciple of the Tai Holy Land, and killing those bandits was just a casual thing, and now, he was seeing that outfit again. Suddenly, that feeling of fear came rushing back. At that moment, he wanted to kill Skinny Monkey. If looks could kill, he would have murdered Skinny Monkey 100 times over. Of all the people to bring here, he had brought this monster. Chapter 037. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The origin of magic, the sky-deceiving jade talisman. The Skinny Monkey looked hurt. He couldn't figure out why he'd brought in a fat mark, and the boss was still chewing him out. He started to speak up, but the bald boss, quick on the uptake, slapped him aside and knelt down in front of Chuan. Sir, please, my little bro is just ignorant and bumped into you. I hope you'll forgive him. That the bald boss was so freaked out, he started to stutter. Finally, the monkey realized he'd messed with the wrong guy. Even the boss was scared to death. He rolled his eyes and played dead on the ground. Oh. Really? He just took 20 yuan stones from me. Chuan looked at the bald man with a smirk. The bald boss internally cursed the monkey's entire family tree. He scrambled to pull out his storage bag, held it up above his head, and offered it to Chuan. Sir, is this enough? If not, I can get more. Chuan took the bag and glanced inside. There were about 400 or 500 low-grade yuan stones. He nodded, satisfied, and accepted it. Get up. Next time, just pray you have better luck in your next life. That the bald man was so agreeable, Chuan felt almost bad for him. Besides, these guys were weak. The bald boss was the strongest, only at the 5th level of the body-tempering realm. The rest were just regular folks or barely scraping by at the 1st or 2nd level. Chuan didn't even want to bother fighting them, plus, he wanted to pump them for information. Get up. I've got a few questions for you. If I like the answers, we'll forget about this. Otherwise, you know how it goes, Chuan said calmly. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Ask away. There's nothing in Linan County that Zhongliang doesn't know about. The bald man, Zhongliang, jumped up and said respectfully. All right, then tell me, what do you know about the Chen family in Linan County? Zhongliang was surprised. He hadn't expected that question, but he quickly recovered and said, the Chen family is one of the biggest around here. They've got an ancestor at the 3rd level of supernatural power. They've been running things for ages, but that ancestor is getting old. I doubt he'll last much longer. Then the Chen family will be fair game, and everyone will want a piece. But recently, I heard they found some kind of treasure that can prolong life. The Chen family ancestor was overjoyed and announced the discovery. They're planning to make the Chen family disciple the next head of the Chen family. Chuan's eyes flashed with a golden light. It had to be the spiritual crystal. Only spiritual crystals could give someone on their deathbed a new lease on life. I have to get it. Chuan made up his mind. If he could get his hands on it, the killing god's sword could finally be restored to its former glory. Maybe he could even use it to advance his own cultivation. The ancestor in the magic realm was a slight issue. Oh, and 2 days from now is the Chen family ancestor's 500th birthday. He's throwing a big party for all the major players in Linan County. Zhongliang added, spilling everything he knew. Chuan perked up. That was an opportunity. He could use the party as cover to sneak into the Chen family's vault and swipe the spiritual crystals without anyone being the wiser. There's no way to stick something like a spiritual crystal in a storage ring. They constantly radiate life energy and would blow the ring to kingdom come, so the Chen family ancestor would have to stash it somewhere ultra-secure. The family treasury was obviously the place. Chuan wasn't worried the Chen family ancestor had already used the spiritual crystal. In his condition, trying to absorb a spiritual crystal directly would kill him. He could only let it sit there and absorb it slowly. As long as Chuan could find it, the spiritual crystal would be his. Perfect. Chuan mentally gave himself a pat on the back. As long as he didn't have to go toe-to-toe with the Chen family ancestor, he was confident he could handle just about anyone in the mortal realm. Ever since he condensed the sword soul seeds, his confidence had skyrocketed. Now he just needed to figure out how to sneak into the Chen family's treasure house unnoticed. Chuan briefly regretted not learning a stealth skill before leaving the Holy Land. He'd have to find another way. He shook his head and stopped dwelling on it. Alright, we're done here. But remember, not a word of what you heard today. Got it? Or you'll be wishing you were never born. With that, Chuan unleashed a wave of mortal realm energy to intimidate them. The group of thugs were so terrified, they dropped to their knees. Zhang Liang was secretly sweating bullets. He thought, damn, I'm glad I'm smart enough, or that skinny monkey would have gotten me killed. After Chuan eased up, Zhang Liang bolted with his crew, including the dead monkey. He didn't want to stick around. Chuan was way too intense. Chuan didn't care and let them go, but before they left, he'd used the system to check out the bald boss's stats. He knew, just looking would surprise you. Name, Zhang Liang. Realm, 5th level of body tempering realm. Talent, very common. Fate, quick thinker. Blue. Life script, background character. Life path. As a kid, he ran into a Tai Holy Land disciple. They killed everyone in his village, but he survived by luck. He turned into a bandit but was too scared, so he gave it up. He ended up in Linen County and started extorting people. Later, he becomes a flower-picking thief, passing through thousands of flowers without even touching a leaf. Opportunity, tomorrow at noon, near the city gate, he'll find a jade talisman. It can hide his spirit and breath, letting him become the most famous flower-picking thief in the Wei dynasty. What the heck? Chuan was floored. This bald brute was destined to be a famous flower-picking thief. Unbelievable. Chuan couldn't picture it, but maybe it was just the element of surprise. Now he understood why Zhang Liang had dropped to his knees. He'd been traumatized by a Holy Land disciple, combined with his ability to read a room. He'd surrendered instantly, and most importantly, Chuan saw a path to sneaking into the Chen family. Zhang Liang was going to find the jade talisman that could hide anyone. Even someone like Zhang Liang could become famous with it. That showed how powerful the talisman was. If Chuan could get his hands on it, he could slip past the magic realm ancestor and into the Chen family's treasure house. Chuan couldn't believe his luck. He'd just taken a casual look, and he'd found exactly what he needed. Things were finally starting to look up. Now, he just had to get the jade talisman tomorrow and use it to sneak in during the Chen family's party. Did Chuan feel bad about robbing the Chen family? Not even a little. They probably stole the spiritual crystal from someone else anyway. He was just taking it back, steal from the rich and give to himself. Perfect logic. Chapter 038. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Early the next morning, Chuan was already staking out the Linen County city gate, waiting for his chance. He figured that jade talisman couldn't have been lying there forever, or someone would have snagged it a long time ago. Someone must have dropped it, so Chuan kept a close eye on everyone passing by. Finally, around noon, he saw something. A guy was pushing a cartload of fresh dirt out of the city. Looks like he was hauling dirt from a construction site inside the city. As he approached the gate, the cart wheel hit a rock, the cart jolted, and some dirt spilled out, and there it was, the jade talisman, glinting in the dirt. The guy pushing the cart didn't notice a thing. He just wanted to dump the load outside the city, collect his pay, and head home. Chuan's eyes lit up. When nobody was looking, he snatched the jade talisman from the mound and slipped it into his storage ring. Just then, Zhang Liang, the kid from yesterday, showed up with his crew. One of the sharp-eyed boys spotted Chuan and ratted him out to Zhang Liang. Hearing this, Zhang Liang did an about-face and skedaddled with his posse, terrified of being seen by Chuan. But as he turned, he felt a strange pang of loss. Like he'd suddenly lost something important, something that was rightfully his. The feeling vanished as quickly as it came, and Zhang Liang brushed it off. Getting away from Chuan, the plague, was the priority. Chuan had spotted him a while back but ignored him. Now that he had the jade talisman, he just wanted to unlock its secrets. Back at his place, Chuan examined the jade charm closely. He looked it over and over but couldn't see anything special about it. It looked like a plain old jade talisman. In fact, it was kind of dingy, stained with earth from being buried for so long. How do I use this thing? Su Chuan focused his mind on the jade talisman and finally found the trick. It contained a mysterious energy. When activated, it masked the user's presence, it reduced their overall detectability, it could even hide someone from divine judgment during tribulation. The only downside was that it could only be used once a day, and it had a time limit. After that, the jade talisman would be useless. Whoa, this is amazing, Su Chuan gasped, his eyes gleaming with excitement. With this, I can totally sneak into the Chen family. After calming down, Su Chuan imprinted his spiritual mark on the jade talisman. That way, he could activate it whenever he needed. Since tomorrow was the Chen family patriarch's birthday, Su Chuan wasted no time. He left the inn immediately, cloaked by the jade talisman, and headed for the Chen residence. Soon, he was near the Chen mansion. The Chen family was definitely top tier in Linen County. Knowing the patriarch was throwing a birthday bash, everyone was clamoring for an invite. Su Chuan hid in a tree outside the mansion, observing the comings and goings. He didn't know where the Chen family's treasure vault was, and barging in without a clue wouldn't do any good. It might even raise the alarm. That would be a bad move. So, Su Chuan kept watch, hoping to pick up some information from the guests. But after a long wait, he still had nothing. Su Chuan was getting impatient, just as he was about to give up and sneak into the Chen mansion to search. A middle-aged man decked out in gold and jade caught his eye. He came out of the house and stood by the door, waiting to greet someone important. Su Chuan's gut told him this guy had the information he needed. He had the system scan the guy, and his info popped up. Name, Chen Yofu. Realm, 7th level of body tempering realm. Talent, totally average. Fate, from 0 to hero, green. Life script, a supporting character among supporting characters. Life trajectory, Chen's illegitimate son was shunned by the Chen family. However, after his son stole the spiritual crystal and Chen was appointed by the ancestor as the next head of the family, he began to turn his life around. Opportunity, when his son became head of the family, he accidentally entered the treasure vault at the bottom of the lake, absorbed a tiny bit of the energy emitted by the spiritual crystal, and advanced to the Qi realm. Su Chuan's hunch was right there in the description. Su Chuan saw the location of the treasure vault, and the spiritual crystal was definitely inside. Without hesitating, Su Chuan relied on the jade talisman to conceal himself and slipped into the Chen mansion. The Chen family's property was huge, divided into a front yard and a backyard. Right now, all the servants and guards were busy in the front yard, getting ready for the birthday party. Su Chuan scoped out the front yard but didn't see a lake. The lake must be in the backyard. When he got to the back, he found a small lake. That had to be it. The treasure vault was under the lake, with no one around. Su Chuan didn't hesitate. He jumped into the lake. The water wasn't too deep, maybe 20 meters. Without much trouble, Su Chuan dove to the bottom, and there it was, a palace made of blue bricks and glazed glass. Who would have guessed there'd be a palace down here? The palace was protected by water-repelling formations, creating its own little world. Stepping into the formation, Su Chuan noticed the air was fresh, not humid and stuffy like he expected. They had a special ventilation system. The Chen family is smart. Building the treasure vault at the bottom of the lake. If I didn't have a system, who would have thought of it? Su Chuan stared at the underwater palace. The Chen family's treasure vault was pretty big. He was going to clean them out. Inside the palace, rows of shelves lined one side, and large boxes lined the other. Su Chuan took a quick look around. The shelves held elixirs, spiritual herbs, and cultivation manuals. The elixirs and herbs looked good, but Su Chuan didn't care for the manuals. No matter how good the exercises here, they couldn't be better than those in the Holy Land. No way. The open boxes were full of primeval stones, stacked neatly. Su Chuan swore he'd never seen so many stones in his life. A quick calculation put it at 500,000 yuan stones, at least. They were mostly low-grade, sure, but it was still a sizable fortune. This was the result of standing in Linen County for hundreds of years. Besides this, what else? Su Chuan frowned. These weren't the purpose of his trip. Although these things were not much, they were just the icing on the cake. His target was the spiritual crystal. Su Chuan opened these boxes one by one and started searching. The items in these boxes and shelves were warded off by restrictions. but they were all defeated by the deceiving jade talisman in Su Chuan's hand. This thing was simply born to steal things. Su Chuan was getting better and better with it. After searching for a long time, Su Chuan still couldn't find any trace of the spiritual crystal. However, I found a lot of alchemy and weapon refining materials. Chapter 039. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Spiritual crystal snatch and the shift. Su Chuan crammed everything into his storage ring. Good thing it was big enough, or he wouldn't have been able to fit it all. Looking around the empty treasure room, Su Chuan still couldn't find the spiritual crystal, but the system had clearly indicated it was down here. There was no way it could be wrong. Where's it hidden? Is there a secret room? Su Chuan wasn't giving up. He was determined to find that crystal. He walked straight to a wall, tapping and feeling around with his hands. Old trick from the movies. After a bit, Su Chuan actually found something. There it is. His eyes lit up as he found a mechanism on the wall. He pressed it slightly, and a door appeared. As it opened, a wave of intense vitality rushed out. Without hesitation, he stepped inside. A hidden training room appeared. A complete spirit gathering array was painted on the floor, drawing in a huge amount of vitality, so strong it was practically liquid. Mysterious Taoist aura permeated the room. In the center, a palm-sized treasure, radiating infinite vitality, floated in the air. Su Chuan finally smiled. This was the spiritual crystal he'd come for. The system's never wrong. He let out a sigh of relief. After all, stealing from someone else's territory wasn't exactly stress-free. If he couldn't find the crystal, he would have been forced to retreat and look for another chance. The Chen family had some serious power. At his current level, Su Chuan wasn't confident he could take on a supernatural realm expert. That would be suicide. He did have the talisman his master gave him, which could unleash a full-strength attack, but using that on someone in the supernatural realm was like using a nuke to kill a fly. It was a full power strike from a peak swordsman in the Tongtian realm, incredibly powerful. Su Chuan didn't want to use it unless it was absolutely necessary, so, if he hadn't found it, he would have had to leave. Luckily, he had it now. Now it was time for the god-slaying sword to shed its mundane form and reveal its true self. This was a weapon that could transcend realms and kill even those in the reincarnation realm. Su Chuan couldn't wait to see it restored. He reached out and grabbed the spiritual crystal, ready to leave and find a safe place to refine the killing god's sword, but the moment he touched it, *ding, a crisp sound came from the crystal's surface. Then, it began to tremble and exploded into tiny crystals that floated in the room. Shua, the Chen family's sixth ancestor, planned this. He instantly understood. The Chen ancestor had set a trap on the crystal. Touch it without disarming the formation, and it explodes. Even with his heaven-deceiving jade talisman, he'd inevitably have to touch the crystal, falling right into their trap. After it exploded, those fragments would completely dissipate within an hour, and because they were too numerous and small, he couldn't collect them. Not wanting the trip to be a complete loss, Su Chuan took out the killing god sword, placed it where the crystal had been, and activated the blade. The exploded crystals seemed to sense a home, and they poured into the blade. Then, a suction force appeared, drawing in all the vitality from the room. The refining of the killing god sword had begun. Su Chuan had no choice but to wait it out in someone else's treasure room. Once the process started, he couldn't stop it, or it would all be for nothing. During the refinement, massive amounts of energy scattered. Since he couldn't leave, he wasn't about to waste the opportunity. He sat cross-legged, and the Xianyang technique circulated wildly. He absorbed and refined the abundant vitality in the room. Boom, after who knows how long, fueled by this massive energy, Su Chuan broke through to the second level of mortal transformation realm. And the killing god sword was still being tempered. To speed things up, he took out all the refining materials from the treasure house outside, feeding them to the sword. This was enemy territory, and he couldn't stay too long. Once the sword was done, he'd leave immediately, or he'd definitely be caught. Outside, the Chen family mansion was holding a birthday banquet for their ancestor. All the prominent figures in Linan County were there, celebrating the Chen ancestor's birthday. After all, he was one of the few powerful people in the supernatural realm in Linan County. They had to show some respect. Yang Chen of the Yang family wishes the ancestor a happy birthday on behalf of our family. Bai Hua, from the county governor's office, wishes the ancestor a happy birthday on behalf of the governor. The Qinglong gang congratulates the ancestor. wishing him success and quick advancement to nirvana. Each voice represented the arrival of a VIP. Dozens of powerful groups had arrived, the Chen mansion was buzzing with people, the party was in full swing. Everyone here to celebrate the birthday of our Chen ancestor is a friend of our family. Thank you for your support. Chen Dongsheng, the current head of the Chen family, announced. After a few words, the guests took their seats. The Chen ancestor slowly walked out, greeted by everyone's gazes. He looked vibrant and healthy. Many guests exchanged worried looks. The rumors were true. The Chen family had found a treasure, and the ancestor had grown stronger. They had come to see if the rumors held water. If he was truly on his deathbed, the Chen family would be easy pickings, and every force there wanted a peace. Congratulations on your advancement, ancestor. The Yang family has prepared this 1,000-year-old blood ginseng as a gift for your birthday. Yang Chen was the first to react, congratulating the ancestor and presenting a brocade box. Everyone watched as he opened the box. Inside, a tangled red ginseng radiated intense vitality, 1,000-year-old blood ginseng. The Yang family spared no expense. Everyone present knew what this was. They just hadn't expected the Yang family to offer something like this as a gift. It could directly increase one's lifespan. It was a rare treasure, and 1,000-year-old one was even rarer. The Yang family must have paid a fortune to get it. Ha ha ha, wonderful, the Yang family has my gratitude. Say hello to Yang Wen for me. The Chen ancestor was delighted. Such a gift showed the Yang family was firmly on their side. He might not need it now, but he might in the future. Everyone, please enjoy the food and drink prepared by my Chen family. The Chen ancestor waved his hand, and the banquet officially began. Chuan knew nothing of what was happening outside. He watched the killing god's sword being tempered in the treasure room. Buzz. Buzz. Buzz, star, the sword suddenly burst with blinding white light. Chuan knew it was about to be fully refined. It began to absorb a huge amount of vitality, and the white light pierced through the secret room and the palace, illuminating the entire lake. The lake was filled with color. In the sky, a blade-shaped shadow appeared, filled with a deadly aura and boundless evil. It enveloped the Chen mansion. Crap, I've been exposed. Chuan's face fell. He hadn't expected such a bizarre event. Upon the completion of the sword's refinement, he was caught off guard. The Chen family had definitely noticed this. Chapter 040. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Heaven-level sword, 1,000 miles away. Hey, what's that? Someone at the birthday party in the front yard noticed something strange. That aura, it's at least an earth-level weapon. A leader exclaimed. No, it's way stronger than any earth-level weapon. I once saw the royal family perform a sacrifice to heaven in the capital. This aura is as strong as the royal family's heaven-level cauldron. That the crowd gasped. Everyone present trembled, eyes glued to the sword-shaped shadow in the sky. A heaven-level weapon. There were only a handful of these weapons in the entire eastern region, and they were all held by major holy grounds and sections. Now, one had appeared at the Chen family. Who wouldn't want an unowned heaven-level weapon? Snatch it, disappear for a while, refine it, and bam. Instant powerhouse. Everyone was on edge, some already drawing weapons, hoping to grab the thing and bolt before the big shots from the Holy Lands arrived. The Chen family patriarch, distracted by the celestial display, had no clue the source was right under his nose, at the bottom of the lake. It's in the Chen family's inner courtyard. First come, first served. Someone yelled. Suddenly, a riot erupted. People brandished weapons, charging toward the inner courtyard. The patriarch's face twisted as he gave chase. A heaven-level weapon appearing on his property was rightfully his. With a weapon of that caliber, the Chen family could become a top force in the eastern region. Greed consumed him. Bursting into the inner courtyard, people were already diving into the lake, figuring the source of the phenomenon was underwater. False alarm. No heaven-level weapon, but there's an empty palace down here. A diver shouted as he surfaced. The Chen patriarch arrived just then, his face paling. Boom! He slammed his palm down, parting the lake, then beeline for the secret room in the palace. He wrenched open the door. Empty. Chuan was gone. Who stole my spirit crystals? Come out. The patriarch was losing it. He was counting on those crystals to reach nirvana and get a new lease on life. now they were gone. Even that heaven-level sword in the sky was likely this person's doing. Hearing the patriarch's screams, the crowd's eyes gleamed. Finally, they understood why the patriarch hadn't looked like he was about to kick the bucket. He had scored big with spirit crystals. Catch the thief, and you snag not only a heaven-level sword but also bonus spirit crystals. The hunt for Su Chuan was on. Meanwhile, Su Chuan, realizing he was made, quickly used the Xianyang art to mask the killing god sword's Daoyuan. Using a faint connection, he pulled the sword into himself. After stashing the sword, he activated the Jade Talisman's cloaking ability and slipped past the crowd to the Chen family gate. Bad luck struck. He'd lingered too long in the treasure vault. By the time he reached the gate, the talisman's effect wore off. He reappeared, no choice. He had to bolt. His only goal was to not get discovered too quickly. Didn't happen. The moment he stepped outside the gate, he was spotted. That kid's acting shady. He must have the heaven-level weapon and the spirit crystals. Stop him. A burly dude with a sledgehammer shouted, pointing at Su Chuan. Everyone gave chase, the Chen family patriarch leading the charge. Boy, hand over the heaven-level weapon and spirit crystals, and I'll let you live. Otherwise, I'll make you wish you were dead. The patriarch threatened, his face a mask of fury. Su Chuan grimaced. A magical power realm cultivator was way faster than someone at his mortal transformation realm. He pivoted, changing direction, and put on another burst of speed. He was headed for the Dark Soul Mountain range. The most dangerous place in the eastern region was filled with monsters and dense forests. If he could get there, he was confident he could shake off his pursuers. Boy, don't let me catch you, that the patriarch roared, his fury growing as Su Chuan pulled away. He was holding back his full power, forced to watch Su Chuan disappear into the distance. Before he'd gotten the spirit crystals, he'd been close to death. Now, having only absorbed a tiny bit to stabilize his current state, he was hesitant to push himself too hard. Using all his power would bring him back to the same state as before. Eyes burning, he pressed on, following Su Chuan closely, but Su Chuan, thanks to his heaven-level skill, was just out of reach. Stop, the patriarch bellowed. You think I'm an idiot? Su Chuan thought, you want to kill me. Why wouldn't I run? Seeing the patriarch closing in, Su Chuan gritted his teeth and kicked it up a notch. Like an arrow, he shot forward, increasing the distance once more. Panic clawed at the Chen family patriarch. He, a powerful cultivator in the magical power realm, couldn't catch a kid at the second level of mortal transformation. He knew he was holding back, but still, he felt utterly humiliated. Fuming, he continued the chase. He had one thing on his mind: catch Su Chuan, reclaim the spirit crystals, and seize the heaven-level sword. Then he would disappear, refine the crystals and the sword, and take his power to the next level. What happened to the Chen family without him? He couldn't care less. Su Chuan ran like hell. He could see the Dark Soul Mountain range. Safety lay within. Gotta think fast. My energy is dwindling. If I run out of juice, he'll definitely catch me. Glancing at the pursuing patriarch, Su Chuan felt trapped, but he couldn't let his guard down. That old man looked homicidal, and Su Chuan could only imagine the brutal fate that awaited him if he were caught. Seeing Su Chuan's flagging pace, the patriarch's heart leaped with joy. Boy, looks like you're running out of steam. Just wait till I get my hands on you. I'm gonna make you scream until the mountains crumble. Unfortunately for him, Su Chuan wasn't about to give him the chance. Just as he was about to be caught, Su Chuan dove into the Dark Soul Mountain range. Old man, you wanna catch me? You need a few centuries of practice.